You're doing everything right, contributing to your 401k, you're saving for your kids' college, you're also eliminating and paying down debt. But have you put everything together to build kind of the financial plan and the financial picture? Today's video, that's exactly what we're going to looking at. The reason and really the logic behind why you need a financial plan. Now, this is something that I feel like a lot of people don't have when it comes to the financial literacy, even when it comes to the debt repayment, when it comes to exactly how you're going to pay off, get into retirement, and what does it look like. This is again the biggest hurdle that I see a lot of people do not have is a plan to really bring it all together. Now, this of course can just be a couple of pages. You can work with a financial advisor. You can even work with financial counselors. There's a lot of different ways, but what does it look like from an outside source on a big picture view, which could cover things like, are you saving enough for retirement? Are you saving enough for the kids' college funds? Do you have everything protected with life insurance? It really is a comprehensive guide that you're going to update usually on an annual basis to make sure that everything is in line. Starting with number one, guys, a 360-degree view of your entire financial picture. This, again, is something that most people do not do, especially having put down on paper. If you still have debt out there when you're getting to a retirement, if you still have a lot of income out there, it can be the time, guys, that either you're going to step up your investments, you're going to step up the debt elimination. You want to make sure before you get into that retirement piece that you are actually paying off your mortgage. Now, for me personally, I see a lot of individuals that go into retirement going from, a regular income into a fixed income with Social Security, possibly a pension, realizing they don't have any money to do exactly what they want to when it comes to retirement because they still do have that full mortgage. You can also look at this, guys. What are you spending? When you look at the budget, when you look at the creation of budget, how does the budget fit into your financial plan? Where can you cut out to save more money, to pay some more debt, possibly looking at investing? S&P 500 yielded about 11% over the last 15 years. So it's kind of incredible to see where you can get the most of your money. Number two, having confidence to make your next move. That is right, guys. Coming up with a plan. And again, depending when you want to retire. For me, myself, it is at 50 years old, which means that we have another 6 years. What is it going to look like? Is it theoretically, mathematically, and financially, am I going to be able to do that? Does it mean changing up a couple things, eliminating debt? We're going to go into age 50 with the mortgage paid off, all of the debt paid off, and hopefully a very substantial amount in our 401ks, as well as some of our IRAs, some of the Roth IRAs, as well as brokerage accounts. Now, a lot of people cannot do this because, again, they haven't really planned it, and it is not something that they're looking forward to or they're really planning to. When you start looking, again, kind of big picture thinking here, when do you want to retire? Is it going to be 55? Is it going to be 60? Is it going to be 65? I've actually sat down with individuals, looked at everything on paper from where they are income-wise, what debt they have, realizing that the thought of retiring at 62 is not going to be feasible because they have too much debt. And again, this really makes a big difference. You can also plan what you want to do, guys. If your retirement is going to be traveling, if it is going to be vacations, taking your kids, taking your grandkids places, you can make those decisions and you can do that without having to check in with anyone else because you know financially that everything is completely set. Third one, the permission to spend. That is right, guys. When you look at your financial plan, when you look at your budget, you know exactly how much you can spend without kind of putting you in the red, making sure that you're comfortable with where you're at and having the ability to spend. They always say that you cannot take the investments, you cannot take your money to the grave. Go out, have those experiences, guys. Life is not about working for, 60 years, 50 years, and then just retiring and doing absolutely nothing with it to leave it to your kids. There's a point, guys, where you're going to give the money to your children, you're going to give the money to your spouse, having fun with it, living life. That is really the reason why we do work as hard as we do, saving like we are. Especially, I want to pay for our child's college entirely. So not having a bill when they get out of college, if they decide to go to college of 4 years, 6 years, whatever it may be, we're going to be able to pay that in its entirety without them having to actually carry student loan debt getting out. And again, that is because my wife and I have a financial plan and we know exactly what we want to do and how we're going to get there step by step, year by year, checking in with this plan, making sure exactly that it's really running the way that it needs to. This can also reassure your perspective and the volatility within the market. Now, if you watch any of the news, guys, the world is ending every day. Once a week, something horrible is happening. That is the reason why a majority of people have quit watching the news or really filtering where they get the news from. They said that last year was going to be absolutely horrible in 2023 for the stock market. We've seen it up about 23%. It was a stellar year when it actually came to the stock market and the investments. Guys, you have to look at it. Remember, there's going to be up and down years in the stock market. There is going to be volatility in life and also with your investments. It is really a check and a reality check and an emotional check, because when it comes to stocks, when it comes to investing, guys, it is not an emotional journey. It is not something that is really tied to emotion, or that should not be tied to emotion, which a lot of people do. Making sure that you're leaving your money in there for the investments, and you also know what the money is going to be used for. As we get into number 5, a reality check and an incentive to save more. That is right. The more you can put into those accounts now, and the really big ones, guys, is number 1 being the 401k. The 401k is huge when you have a match from the employer, when you're putting money in there, trying to max those out, getting to that 15%, if not a little bit more, but making sure that you have money in there. But a lot of people also overlook the HSA accounts. For me, the HSA accounts is such a no-brainer, guys. If you have the ability through your healthcare plan that you're eligible for an HSA account, you should be, in my opinion, maxing those things out after you hit your 401k. Number 2, the second most important, should be putting money in that HSA, because what's going to happen is when you come to retirement and you're not eligible for that HSA account anymore, you could possibly have $30, $50, $70, $100,000 sitting in that HSA, invested in something that you want to have it in that is actually growing. So when you need to take money out, you are not tapping into the money that you have in annuities, in stocks and bonds, in your 401k. You don't have to touch that money because all of your healthcare costs are being covered by that HSA, which makes a huge difference. Now, the final one in this, guys, is uncovering opportunities and risks that you might have missed, guys. Again, this is a reason why a lot of people do work with financial advisors, coming up with a game plan, but also seeing where can you make the most of it? Where can you cut your expenses? Where could you invest more? Where could you actually take like a percentage of your portfolio, make it a little bit more aggressive than everything being conservative? When you start looking at a lot of, let's say, the Vanguard target date funds, you start getting into your 50s and 60s, it almost moves everything entirely into bonds at that point, meaning you have very limited exposure to stocks, which might not be the best way to play it, guys. So when you start getting into retirement and you actually start taking money out of that 401k on a regular basis, if you have to, it just sitting in bonds. I know the last couple of years the bonds did well, but notoriously they underperform what we see with the S&P 500. So you might want to put, 20% aside to put into something aggressive, or just keeping it invested in some ETFs. That is my personal opinion, not a financial advisor, guys, but I have seen where it has worked incredibly well, where you're not limiting 100% of the exposure for anything, because again, some of the money is going to be left to your kids, making sure that it is there and making sure that they have the ability to actually invest it and enjoy it long after you're gone. So, all right, guys, so that is going to do it for today's video, but you definitely need to have a financial plan. It really earmarks and builds a 360 picture of what you have to do, and I'll catch you in the next video.